Good afternoon and welcome to the second webinar in the NNELS series. In this webinar today we will be going through a little bit more in depth and what kind of content is available through NNELS, the National Network for Equitable Library Service, and how to access that content and some tutorials that you can access as well. My name is Josie Wilson. I'm a Client Services Librarian here at Yellowhead Regional Library, and I'll be guiding you through this today. If you have any questions, please use the question box in the control panel that's associated with the online webinar service, and I will answer them as soon as I see them flash up. Everybody is muted, so please use the question box and we'll get your questions answered as quickly as possible. So this will be a fairly short webinar today, about 20 to 25 minutes, and it's building on what you saw in the first webinar yesterday about NNELS. So as you learned yesterday, NNELS is for patrons who have print disabilities and who are not able to access what they need through your regular resources at the library because it's not accessible to them. So as Jordan talked about yesterday, with print disabilities, they can range from things like sight disabilities to physical disabilities. If somebody breaks their arm and they can't hold a book, or if they have some sort of a condition that they can't hold a book or whatnot, then that's considered a print disability, as well as learning disabilities. So if they're unable to perceptually or in some other manner access some things, then you can put them down as having print disabilities as well, so that they can access the content on NNELS and hopefully find something that will suit their needs better. So he showed you yesterday how to log in, how to create a user for your patrons, and then also pointed out that you have staff logins that we sent to you yesterday. So right now I am logged in as a test patron, so I'll log out quickly and then log back in just to make sure that we all get to that same spot. So you can feel free right now, if you're on a computer, if you'd like to log in as your staff person, that's fine, or your staff page, that's fine. I'm going to log in as a test patron. So because this test patron already has an account created, it's fairly easy. I just put in my username and password for my test patron, and then I'll be logged in and ready to go. Now, of course, once again, this works because my Polaris patron code is set to print disabled, so I am able to access this as a patron on my own. That's the most important part in accessing NNELS, is you have to ensure that your patron's patron code is changed. Now, you can change it temporarily if they've got a temporary print disability, or permanently as well if they have a permanent print disability and will need to access NNELS. So here we go. My login is successful. So the first thing that we're going to do is search the catalog. This catalog is very similar to TrackPack. So if you have patrons who use TrackPack, if you use TrackPack, you should find it fairly easy to use. It starts with a keyword search. There are some browsing topics here, and we'll talk about how to browse the wide catalog and how to narrow it down to different genres as well. So with a keyword search, it is just that. So you can search anything that you'd like, author names, titles of books, topics, genres, anything like that. So we're just going to do a quick search for dog. As you can see, there's probably quite a few items on dogs in here, which is why it's taking a few minutes. The other thing to note about NNELS is that it's not just adult material. There is content for kids and teens on here as well. So it's not just for your senior citizens or anything like that. Definitely, I think that's an older, outdated view of patrons with print disabilities. Anybody can have a print disability, from a young child all the way up to seniors. So you definitely want to, keep your eyes open and tell and let your patrons know, promote the service who could use it. at any age. Okay, so here we come with our list. So once again, you can see it's kind of similar to TrackPack. You've got an icon here or the cover art display. You've got a title, author, a brief summary, keywords, genre, and then it tells you the format that it's available in. As you see on the side here under the filters, you can also filter by format if you're looking, or if your patron is looking for a specific type of format. You get an idea of the different formats that are on NNELS and available through NNELS. So there's DAISY, Braille, MP3, eText, and PDF. You should all be familiar with MP3 and PDF because those are often an EPUB. There are also a few EPUBs on here. Those are often what we download through Overdrive or 3M Cloud Library. So you should be familiar with those types of formats, and you should know that they can be read on a variety of devices and computers. Now, eText is a little bit different and is specific to NNELS. We don't offer anything else that has eText, as well as electronic Braille and DAISY. So the DAISY files are electronic, so you can download those, and you can actually, the interesting thing about NNELS is that all of this is available through, this is all e-resource, right? So ebook, e-audiobook. Nothing is a physical, you don't get any physical items from NNELS. It's all through the website through an e-format. But interestingly enough, if you have patrons who still prefer physical formats, as a library, you can download the DAISY books, burn them onto CDs for your patrons, and then lend the CDs to your patrons if they'd rather have the actual physical CD. Your patrons can also download the DAISY books and burn them onto CDs themselves if they'd like. Now, if you're a library who has chosen to download some DAISY books from here onto CDs and have them as a kind of a small physical collection in your library, you can offer them for loan to any patrons who have print disabilities. So in that sense, you're almost creating your own little CNIB collection, but with items you download from NNELS. The only stipulation is that it has to be for patrons with print disabilities. So you can't download these DAISY books or these MP3 books and then, because they're in audio form, and lend them to patrons, just your regular standard or family patrons, okay? They need to have that patron code of print disability, or else you are contravening the Copyright Act and the copyright law in which these items can be produced. And we want these items to be produced freely because under that act, so we need to follow the rules associated with it. So as I just mentioned, the DAISY and the MP3, those are the audiobook formats, and then the Braille, eText, and PDF are more of the text-based. Of course, Braille is not in text, it's in Braille, but you know what I mean in terms of it's not read out loud, it's not the audio. So from here, you can click on the title if you want to go into the record. And it doesn't give you much more information than what you see out here in the brief view. Gives you a little bit more publisher and language, but not much more. So let's go back to our main list. I apologize for how long it's taking to load these pages today. Okay, and so then you can see that you can just scroll down. There are lots of different items in here, and you can see there's lots of different pages. And you can also see that there's DAISY. DAISY. They have the largest amount of DAISY on here for DAISY readers. And your patron, of course, will have to have a DAISY reader to access these. There's MP3s, and then there's also eText. So we're going to take a look at an eText because this is something that most of you probably haven't seen before, and it's quite an interesting format because it's very different from what you've seen in terms of EPUB and PDF that you would download through Overdrive. So I'm going to click on the little download button. And you can see here, it says you have chosen to open Red Dog red dog, etext.zip. This is an important, and then which is a zip archive. This is an important thing to note. Most things that are downloaded from NNELS are in multiple parts, so they zip them together into a folder to kind of make it small and compress it a bit more. To not make the download as big, but it can mean some extra steps in terms of accessing it once you download it. So on my computer right now, which is a MacBook, it is choosing to open it with an archive utility, which will automatically unzip the file for me, which is very convenient. So I'm going to say OK. It goes into my downloads folder. I'll double click it and it will automatically unzip. So that's lovely. And you can see how it's in a folder, and then I've got multiple items in that folder here. If you're on a Windows-based computer, you may have to right-click on the file and say unzip or extract all, and then Windows will run a similar utility to unzip the file folder and give you access to all the content within it. We'll go over in a couple of minutes a tutorial that you can look at in order to help you unzip the files, and depending on your computer you may have a similar utility to what I have on here, where it just unzips it for you if you click on it. So you'll just have to play that by ear a little bit. It's a good thing to inform your patrons about the zipping and unzipping, so that and like extracting it from the zip file, so that they aren't totally confused when they go to do it themselves at home. So as you can see, Red Dog has 7 parts. There's a terms of use text, and this just basically says, you know, that it's this has been produced for use for print disabled patrons only. Please respect that in the copyright law. And then it's in 7 different parts. So if I click on this and open it up, it opens it up in TextEdit because it is just a text. It's just text of the novel, and you can see that I can actually edit it or delete it, which I don't want to do. But this is great for patrons who have print disabilities, who may need to enlarge in their text. They may need to make it into a specific type of font. They may need to put it into a different color. They just need to manipulate it in order to access it better. So this is very, very helpful for that. Now, this type of text can be put, or document can be put into many different files. So you could copy and paste this into Word, that you could then make that into a PDF so that you could load it onto a Kobo or a device or a tablet, or you could just simply look at it off your computer. You could also print it once you make any changes that you want. So there are lots of different options for how you can manipulate this text of this book in order to make it work for your patron. And I wanted to point this out because this is something that you probably haven't seen before. And it's a nice thing to tell patrons about, because you may have some that would really like this, the ability to manipulate this. So that is the e-text. Now, what if you want to filter this down more because you don't want to look at 50 million books about dogs? Well, you can come down the side here, and similar to TrackPack, you can filter by different categories. So you can filter by creator, which is often the author. You can also filter by narrator, which is very handy for those looking for Daisy books and for MP3s. A lot of patrons who listen to audiobooks do have favorite narrators, and so you can definitely show them that. You can filter by language, and you can also filter by genre. Okay, and we're going to look at this a little bit more in a minute. And then, of course, you can filter by availability. So there are some items under that always available title, similar to the Overdrive always available, where they don't have any copyright on them, so you don't actually have to be logged in to use them. But of course, if your patrons are accessing NNELS, they probably want to be logged in. But those always available ones are there. Now, with the NNELS content, it is all simultaneous access. You don't have to, as you can see, you don't have to check anything out or anything like that. It's just, you know, download and use, but as long as the patron has that print disabled patron code. So what if you want to look at what NNELS has for mystery books, if you want to see all the mystery books they have, or all the romance novels? There is no wildcard in this catalog, but what you can do to bring up kind of the full list of what's available on NNELS is if you type in the, and click search. This might take a minute because it's going to produce a lot of results for us. Okay, we get a huge list of items. We can see that this is actually all the items that are in NNELS. So there are over 8,000 daisies, 119 brailles, over 800 MP3s, quite a few e-texts, PDFs, and then a few EPUBs. If we go down here to filter by genre, now this is where your patrons who are your mystery readers or your romance readers, this is where you can come and show them what to do and how to find books that they may like to read or listen to. So now you have all the different genres and they're all completely filled out. So you can see there's 190 science fiction books in here. There's 81 children's fiction, more children's fiction, children's humorous stories. So there's all sorts of different genres: short stories, humorous, family, romance, animals, historical fiction. So you can come in here and use, by just searching bring up the whole catalog, go to the filter by genre, and then pick your genre so that you can browse what is in that genre, so for your patrons who are very genre oriented, okay? And you can see the genres are pretty well broken down. You've got suspense, detective, and mystery stories, so you can get pretty specific depending on what your patrons are looking for. I'm just going to do a quick check of my list to make sure that I have gone through. So we talked about the formats, the filtering. Okay, so we talked about downloading. Now, two more things we're going to go through. What if you cannot find something in NNELS that your patron would like? You can request that NNELS produce it. One of the really unique parts of NNELS is that you can actually ask them to put a book into DAISY format or an MP3 format or an RTF or a PDF, and they will endeavor to make sure that they can do it under copyright and get the right permissions to. To do this, you click on Request a Title, and you'll get a web form that will come up. And it says here, if you live in the province of Saskatchewan, please request a title through your local public library. So you can just ignore that because we don't live in Saskatchewan, we're in Alberta, so you don't have to worry about that. It's just, I don't know why, for whatever reason, Saskatchewan wants to centralize their requests, not do them through NNELS, but we would like you to place them through NNELS. So promote this to your patrons. To do it this way, and you can also do it this way too as a library staff. So you just have to put in your title, your author, those are required fields, ISBN if possible, publisher if possible, and then the preferred format that they would like the book to exist in so that it's easiest for them to access, and then any other information or instructions. So you can see, let's say the newest, or let's say there are, 12 Jack Reacher books on here by Lee Child, but the 13th and 14th aren't on here. You can request in, and you need them in MP3 audio. You can request those titles to be put into MP3 audio format, and you can say in the other information, other books in the series are here, these ones are not yet, and they will endeavor to do that. Now, the other really unique and creative thing about NNELS is that libraries can actually help them to produce and create content. A lot of libraries who have maker spaces and things like that now are running programs where somebody can come in and record part of a book by reading it into an MP3 format. So basically doing, grassroots recording of audiobooks, and then that can be put up on NNELS. So if you're interested in something like that, I'm just kind of briefly plugging it because it's quite a bit more complicated than what I'm making it seem. You can get in contact with me or Jordan, and we can get you more information on that if your library would like to participate in more of the content creation for NNELS. But if you're not interested in that, definitely, use the request the title, request the things that your patrons are looking for, and they will endeavor to get those created and put on the website. And you can see, because you're not checking things out, everything is available all the time. Your patrons don't need to worry about placing holds. As soon as it is available, it will be placed on the website, and they can then download it and access that information. NNELS is I would say a very kind of grassroots organization, in that, everything is, they take a lot of input and a lot of suggestions from their members. They've done a lot. They contact us at the regions quite a bit to get ideas, to get input, etc. So you can also, if you have suggestions for improvement, or if you have any questions, that Jordan and I might not be able to answer, although we can answer most of them, you can also contact NNELS. So support@nels.ca. Sabina, who is our contact, will probably get back to you. But of course, you can always ask Jordan or I. We can be your first point of reference for this, because we are supporting this because it's funded by the province. So the last thing that I'll quickly go over are the tutorials. This, if you remember nothing else today, please remember where the tutorials are, because this is going to be the most helpful for you when you are helping a patron in front of you. Because there are so many different formats in NNELS, and so many different formats, and then these formats can go on so many different devices, it would just be too difficult in a webinar format to go through each and every instance of what can be downloaded where and how to do it. But with the tutorials, it gives you that. So it's all here, and we don't want to overstep or reinvent the wheel that's already been created. And this information is really, really useful, really easy to follow, and very easy to use for you or your patrons. So for instance, I talked about the unzipping the files. If you need help, or if your patrons need help unzipping files from NNELS, you can click right here and you get some instructions and some helpful tips on how to do that. And it's not onerous, it's 3 points, and that's it. And then there's also related entries down here too, if you need tutorials or frequently asked questions answered. So it's really, really helpful. I highly suggest that if you run into a question about NNELS, or there's something you just can't quite figure out, to come to the tutorials first and see if you can't find it on here, especially when your patrons are right in front of you. You want to find out what types of formats they're going to want to use, whether it's going to be more of an audio format or more of the ebook format, kind of the e-print or the e-text. And then you need to find out what they want to listen to it, what kind of device they want to listen to it on, or what kind of device they want to read it on. Once you figure those things out, then you can come to the tutorial section before you even find the content. You can come here and match those things together. So using the Daisy software with a CD or USB, playing on it on a Daisy player, burning the disc, burning it with a CD player, using it on an Android phone or tablet, on an Apple device, or on a Windows phone or tablet, okay? So there's all these instructions and information here. You can print this out for your patrons. You can print it out for yourselves as staff. There's PDFs. There's all sorts of things, information on here that is helpful, and will walk you step by step to doing each of these things. So I highly, highly recommend that you use these tutorials, because they're incredibly useful, and it's really nice that these are created now and that we don't need to create anything else. It's just all here for you, okay? Show this to your patrons as well, if you have those more self-serve patrons who like to do things on their own, so that they can get familiar and they know where to get some help and some training almost on how to use NNELS. There's the help section here that you can access to the left. You can also access it up here from the tab. There's questions from other libraries. There's legal questions if you have questions about the Canadian Copyright Act. There's things on downloading and reading books, and then also on finding books, what we went through today. The last thing that I'll just show you here are the community forums. You might, if you have a question, you might want to come and take a look in here if you can't find the answer in the tutorials or the help, because there are all sorts of different discussions and things in here, all different topics. If you're more interested in that content production, you may want to take a look in here and take a look at some of these things here, but as well you can also contact Jordan or I, and we can get you more information. So that is about it for our webinar today. If you have any questions, like I said, please contact Jordan or myself at any point in time. We are supporting this. We have access to Sabina, who works at NNELS, and she can help us out as well if we can't figure out the answer. We hope that you will find NNELS useful and accessible for your patrons with print disabilities, and that as staff you find it easy to access and help your patrons access these resources to help them out. All right, so if you have any questions, like I said, Jordan and I are here to help, and we'll catch up with you in about a week's time when we do the SELA webinars, which is another content provider for patrons with print disabilities, and we'll talk about the differences between NNELS and SELA and walk you through SELA. So thanks again for coming today, and I hope you have a great day.